As Anand mentioned, we are going to discuss about this very important topic which Maharishi has given us as the spiritual lamp. Actually, he has written a book in Tamil in the same topic. So I will try to translate as much as possible, and we will discuss it today. We will start the discussions today. So we all know that the evolution of universe has got many theories. And there is a Bhakti Yoga which says that everything came from the divine. So everything is actually the divine created everything. It is maintaining everything. It is taking care of everything. This is nothing but, this is in the starting phase, which is Bhakti Yoga. And then as the human consciousness developed, Maharishi also has given how the universe evolved, actually, the evolution. So in this, what Maharishi has explained is divine state, which is omnipresent and omnipotent, due to its self-compressing force, it got evolved into from Vedant to the universe and the human being, up to the human being which we are today. So if you look at this, both the concepts, there is one commonality in between these two, which is nothing but divinity, or the divine is the root for all. So there is no dispute between the main fact that everything in the world has come from divinity only. There is no other source, and divinity is present in everything, whether it is inanimate or whether it is a living being. Okay, so this is what we could understand from the theories of universe, how the universe got evolved. Okay, so out of all the creatures, only we, the human, we are provided with the intellect or the knowledge to understand what happened or how the universe got evolved from beginning till what we are today. So this super intelligence was given only to the human being by the divinity. But what is happening is, unfortunately, between the birth and death, which is called life, we are not able to fully comprehend this knowledge, and we are not able to fully understand this because of the imprints or the Maya in which we are getting trapped. Because the mind is imperceptible, the consciousness is imperceptible, we are not able to get the full benefit out of this. And unfortunately, we are also not able to understand that all human beings are same. So because of this, because the source is same, we are all brothers and sisters. So we are not able to, we are living in an illusion where in this we are not able to even understand this simple fact that we are all brothers and sisters who have come from the same source, which is divinity. Why this is not happening is, unfortunately, we are not able to understand the concept of cause and effect. And because we are not able to understand what is pain, pleasure, peace, and ecstasy, what is beginning, what is end, we are not able to understand all these things because of the imprints or illusion which we have developed over a period of time, and because of the crores of years which got us, which took the time for us to become like a human being. So since we are not, since we are in this condition, we are not able to understand the basic characteristics of the divinity, which is nothing but plenum, force, consciousness, and time. And we are not able to understand another basic fact, or which is very important fact, that there is no flaw in the nature. The flaw is within us only, and the nature is flawless. And we are not able to understand because we are always in an emotional state of mind, and we are not able to understand this. So due to this misunderstanding, what is happening is, there is always conflict due to the following 5 reasons which Maharishi has given is which is the country or place where we live, religion, race, language, and things, or the material things or material possession. So due to these five, what is happening is there are always conflicts between two human. So when this conflict goes beyond the control, it leads to enmity. So when we are in this emotional state of enmity, we commit the six. Actually, we have the six temperaments, which is greed, anger, miserliness, inordinate sexual passion, vanity, and vengeance. So due to these six temperaments, what we are doing is we are self-inflicting harm, and also we are harming our fellow human beings. So we are not able to understand this. If you just take a minute and think about the world where we are living, the globe is revolving around 25,000 miles per hour. Even we are not able to feel that speed of revolution. Okay. And we are not able to, we are remaining stationary, and we are not able to realize this, how fast the earth is rotating. Similarly, we are not able to understand what is the reason, or what are the effects of all our deeds and activities. Since the human being is ignorant, we are not able to understand this very simple concept, but it is very, very important concept. Due to this emotional state, we are not able to realize this. And moreover, we are not able to understand that divinity is present as consciousness in every one of us. And also what is happening is, since we are not able to understand this, there is always issues like lack of education, poverty, lack of funds, and committing of the crimes. So when we do all these things, there is always conflict and issues happening around the world. So when we look at ourselves beyond the five senses, and when we try to understand the reality or the divinity, we will understand that there is no difference between two people, and everything is out of, we all came out of the divinity. So this sixth sense has been, actually this is the elusive, actually it remains elusive to us, and we are not able to realize this. So we are not able to have this love and compassion. We are not able to exhibit these two very important qualities of the divinity of love and compassion. And why this is happening actually? And if you look at another thing, actually the divinity or the God, he has created everything before creating the human being. So he is so kind. Actually, all the requirements of us were created even before we were born, or where we were created. So God is so kind. And if you look at the how this is happening, just take an example. If the water is flowing from a hill to a plain, the requirement of water is met by the water flowing from the higher elevation to the lower elevation of the plain. Similarly, whenever the mankind needs something, the totality provides through somebody or other source. So we are not able to realize this very important thing from the beginning. So what Vedatri Maharishi has done is, he was actually thinking about these kind of things from the beginning. Why human being, why there is suffering, who is God? These kind of questions were lingering in Maharishi's mind from his younger age. So he started looking at things, and he started understanding the things. And over a period of time, from his young age till the age of 90, over all this experience, what Maharishi did is, he wrote a book which is called Anmiga Vilakku in Tamil, which is loosely translated as Spiritual Lamp. He has given 14 chapters in this book. So we will try to go through the chapter one by one. And the first chapter, what Maharishi is given is, he is trying to explain divine state. So what is divine state? So we will try to understand the divine state first. So if you look at the evolution of the universe, the human being got evolved from the first cell creation, then up to the first sense, second sense, third sense, up to fifth sense, and the sixth sense of human being. So if you look at all this evolution, we can understand very easily through science saying that at each and every stage of the evolution, there is an important part of the creation or an important, actually the main characteristic of the creation. We can find this, for example, the excretion, eye to see, taste to, and then ears to hear, and all these things we can see this has happened over a period of time. So the God is so kind, the divinity is so kind, and he has given all these kind of things to all the creation. And if you look at the time period before the human was evolved, that time period is much longer than the time period of the human after the human race is created. So what is happening is, since the animals are up to the fifth sense, they were not able to prepare their own food. What they were doing is they were killing each other and they were surviving by eating them. So because of this practice, what is happening is we are having four issues. First is giving pain, second is killing, and then third is eating the animal or the body, and the fourth is we are just it is the snatching the freedom of living. So due to this was happening continuously. This crime was happening continuously, even though it is a crime, but for the animals there was no choice, because they never had the capability to prepare their own food. So this is getting imprinted in them. Okay. So how this is happening? Let us have a look at it. So whenever there is a circulation, there is a center for circulation. So if you look at the beginning of the evolution, there is something called magnetism, and the same magnetism which is present in the human or the living beings is called biomagnetism. So whenever there is a circulation, there is a center for the circulation. So all these living beings have something called genetic center. So all the activities are getting stored in the genetic center. For example, in human being, whatever is stored in the genetic center, it is also played back. Actually, when we are in the same frequency, our mind plays back and we are able to visualize this in our mind. So this is happening continuously from birth to the death. And this is called nothing but imprints, actually, in human beings. So this imprints is actually very important. So even though we as human beings are born to enjoy the life and to lead a happy life, we are not able to enjoy this fully, and we are facing problems, pains, miseries throughout the life. And why we are facing this? What is our aim? Actually, we need to reduce this pain, and we need to reduce this cycle of birth and death. The human being, actually, if you look at what is the aim of a human birth, is to realize divinity and attain divinity. So why we are not able to do this? We need to understand this. Actually, what is happening is, whenever we do the deeds, this is getting imprinted in our genetic center. So whenever we keep on doing good deeds, all these things are getting imprinted in our genetic center, and our genetic center is getting purified with all the good deeds, and ultimately the soul attains liberation, mukti or moksha. This is the aim of the human being, where we have to stop the cycle of birth and death, and we have to merge with divinity. So how can we do this? Is we need to use the consciousness provided by the divinity to achieve the aim of this birth. And if you look at how we deal with the world, is we deal the world with our senses. So we always use our five senses, and we are not able to use our sixth sense every time, which we are supposed to use. So since we are we are not able to realize the divinity which is within us due to the Maya or illusion, whatever or the imprints. We need to have proper practices to understand this, to understand the divinity, and which will help us in achieving the goal of life, which is self-realization or the God realization. So for that, we need to learn the art of enriching the mind. First, we need to let us have a look at very simply what is mind. So our mind works on certain frequency, which is classified into four: beta, alpha, theta, and delta. And normally, we human being are in the beta, which is an emotional state of mind. So we have to go down from the emotional state of mind to alpha, theta, and delta. And what Maharishi has explained is the other end of the mind is divinity. So if we start reducing the frequency, we will be able to achieve, or we will be able to realize the divinity. Is it easy to do this by self? I think it is not. It is not very easy. It is tough for all of us to achieve by self. So we need some guru. We need a guru to do this. So guru, as it is self-explanatory, guru, which is removal of darkness. So guru is the person who can remove our darkness and show us the light. So the learned guru, our Maharishi, has explained scientifically, spiritually, that absolute space is divinity. Okay, and how he has explained this? He's explained through this, like for example, what are the four characteristics of the divinity? So we have four characteristics, which are plenum, force, consciousness, and time, which is in Tamil Vatra Iruppu, Peratral, Perarivu, Kalam. So first, let us look at plenum. What is plenum? Maharishi says that the divine state is infinite. So there is no limit for this. It is limitless. Adiyam andamam illadadu. In Tamil, it is explained. So whatever we see or whatever we perceive, it can be bound by the four dimensions of volume, time, distance, and force. But if you look at beyond this, the divinity is imperceptible, which is beyond these four dimensions. So we know that everything originates from the divinity only. And when the time comes, this whatever is created, it perishes and go back into the divinity or into the absolute space itself. So none of these objects can ever depart from the divine state. So that means it will be present in this, and then it will be going back to the origin, which is the divine state. So since this continuous cycle is happening, there is no, or in other way, this cannot, or the divinity or the plenum means it is an undiminished perennial source of everything in the universe. So what we call is omnipresent and omniscient. Okay, so this is called this is explained as plenum or Vatra Iruppu by Maharishi in the principle of Vedatriyam. This is again, or it can be referred as Puranam or absolute, which means it is everything. So this is actually about plenum. And then if you look at the next quality, which is characteristic, which is force. And if you look at our universe, we have millions of stars, several galaxies, everything is actually made up of the universe, makes up the universe. Whereas all these things are floating in the static state of absolute space. So if you look at the weight of, for example, Earth, the weight of or the mass of the sun, which is several million times more than this. Everything is being held in the universe, and everything is moving around itself or moving around each other without any issue or without colliding or by maintaining the same distance. So the divinity or the absolute space has the capability to hold everything actually, and everything functions properly. So this is nothing but force. And then and then the third characteristic is consciousness. So what Maharishi is explaining consciousness, or how he is explaining consciousness. So he says consciousness is the ability in human being to cognize the quality of objects perceived through his sense organs. So this is explained as consciousness. So consciousness is nothing but the quality which is derived from the divine state, and it is inherent in all the objects of the universe, including the human beings. Okay. So if you look at all the creations in this world, in the universe, it is characterized by three things, which is pattern, precision, and regularity. And this works as an order of function in each and everything in this universe. So the millions of stars, the galaxies, everything, they revolve and rotate around each other. They are moving in a set pattern. They are not deviating from the pattern at any point of time. So this is the consciousness, actually, this is the consciousness of the divinity or the divine state, which is working as a order of the function. So when we understand these divine characteristics and we apply our consciousness, or the human consciousness gets fulfilled. So we understand that divinity is present in each and every one of us as consciousness. So how can we achieve this? Maharishi has given enough practices for us to elevate or to raise our consciousness to the level of divinity, and he has given us practices to achieve the practices, or to practice the things which will help us to achieve the goal of birth, and to break the cycle of birth and attain this ultimate God realization. So this is the explanation about divine state by Maharishi. So let us look at the second chapter in this. The chapter is titled as Orderliness is Consciousness. So, okay, let us look at what is Maharishi's explanation about this orderliness is consciousness in this. So what we say is, actually the philosophy says that consciousness, it can be only perceived and it cannot be seen. So consciousness is imperceptible, as per this we all know. See, let us take an example of waves in an ocean or in the sea. So what is wave? If we just analyze this, wave is nothing but the motion of water. So if we stop or remove the motion of wave, what remains is water. So if we just take this principle, everything is all which is created by divinity. The divine state is remaining as the source of everything. So the philosophy explains these things. So if you look at things around us, we can observe the dynamic state in many forms and many characteristics around us, which are nothing but the manifestation of the divinity. So like we remove the waves from the ocean, if we remove all these things, we can understand that divinity is present, or it is the reason for everything. So with this one, let us try to understand what is consciousness. So when we try to understand the mind and consciousness, mind is similar to the wave and consciousness is similar to the water in the ocean. So we are able to understand that consciousness is God. So there is a saying in Tamil which says, there is no human without mind, and there is no human who has understood the mind, which is manam illada manidanam illai, manadai arinda manidanam illai. So this clearly explains everything. Like we discussed a little bit earlier, that plenum, force, consciousness, and time are the characteristics of divinity. It is very difficult to explain the consciousness by words. Okay, if the guru writes so many things about this consciousness, or Muthu sir and other teachers, they have explained about the consciousness in many classes to us in Tamil or English. it is very, very difficult only to listen and to understand. We have to understand and we have to feel it. It needs to be felt. It is an imperceptible thing. We cannot see it. Since we cannot see it and feel it, it is very difficult to perceive this. So it needs practices to perceive, which Maharishi has given, like we discussed some time back. So all the creations in this world are the gift of the divine, which is totality. So we are fraction of the totality. The science, the philosophers, they all refer to this as consciousness. So what is consciousness? The order of function in everything and in every action is consciousness. So there is nothing in the world without the consciousness. So we need to understand the consciousness is present in everything. Okay. So see, what happens is sometimes when we get angry, we are asking our fellow human beings what we say in Tamil, Arivirka. So do you have sense? So we see, without understanding how much we are hurting the other person, we are using this very, very big thing and in a very colloquial way across everybody. So we need to understand the universe and its action only through the consciousness. Only if we understand the consciousness. See, how to understand the consciousness? What is actually what is it? Arivai arival ariya vendum. So that means we have to use with the help of consciousness only we can understand the consciousness. So it is very important to follow the teachings and practices given by the Guru to help us to understand the consciousness, because we have to elevate ourselves to understand. Just if you take an example, when we see a cow, what is happening is this gets recorded through our eyes in the using the magnetism in our genetic center. So after some time, if you are asked, we will be able to recall the cow. The cow will come to our mind. We will be able to visualize this, but that is not the same cow, but it is coming out of our imprint. So this basic principle we have to understand, okay, and then only we will be able to understand the divinity. So the divinity, which is consciousness, which is present in us, which is very subtle. So for this getting imprinted, our biomagnetism is used, and whatever we see, whatever we perceive, whatever we speak, it all gets in our genetic center through the biomagnetism. Actually, see, the consciousness is not only in the divine state, but also this is getting transformed into magnetism and gets recorded in the genetic center. Also, it is referred as a mind. So whatever we see, perceive, it gets imprinted. So if somebody, or if we want to understand the consciousness, we need to understand about the magnetism first, because biomagnetism is through which we are recording everything, and it is getting recorded, and we are able to play back, or we are able to bring back that whatever we have seen this. So how to achieve this? Meditation is helping us to achieve, to work on this particular thing. So when we try to observe the life force in the meditation, we start in Agna, which means we start observing our life force. And Maharishi has given one meditation after other, which is like the elevated practices. Through these practices only, we can understand the consciousness. And moreover, we need to travel inward, not outward. Actually, we have to travel inward and to understand the consciousness. So these practices help us to turn inward. So what we are doing is we are always looking at things outside to understand. But unfortunately, everything is inside. So we have to look inward to do this. And what Maharishi has given is, this cannot be understood only through Bhakti Yoga, which was the starting point of everything. So along with Bhakti Yoga, and then when we do this, when we understand the practice that the same divinity is present and functioning as consciousness in all things and all the fellow human beings, this knowledge will help us to realize the fact that divinity is present as consciousness in all human beings. This will lead us to attain the goal of life, or the mukti or moksha, which is the ultimate goal of life. So this is this is the explanation given by Maharishi for the orderliness is consciousness. Okay, and then the third chapter, what he's talking is talking about the time. He's trying to give more details on time. Time. He says time is the characteristic of the divine. In this chapter, he's talking about the time. Like some time back, we discussed about what are the four characteristics: plenum, force, consciousness, and time. So we discussed about the other three things. So now we will discuss about the time. But time is, like all the three, time is also equally important to understand, so that we will be able to understand the divinity in a much better way. So Maharishi has given all these things in a scientific way, so that we will be able to understand this and we will be able to work towards achieving our goal of life. So what is time actually? If you look at the divine state or the absolute space, this goes through a series of contraction and expansion, which is self-compressing force. So due to this constant quivering motion, this motion is actually infinite. It keeps continuing always for from the beginning. So this is beyond any force. So this infinite quality of the divine state makes it self-compressive in nature, and the self-compressive surrounding pressure force, as we discussed about earlier. This actually presses towards the center, and when it cannot go further, it expands outside, which is explaining about the centripetal and centrifugal force. This constant quivering motion is called kinematic quivering. What Maharishi explains as time is the interval between two quivering motions constitutes a time. This time is not the same time like what we have in the clock now. This is very minuscule unit of time. Actually, this is beyond our perception. This cannot be perceived through our sense organs actually, or to the scientific equipment. So what Maharishi has given is this time, the interval between the two quivering motions, it can be perceived only through our mind. And so this is the very important characteristic of the divine state, which one needs to understand if we have to understand the quality of divinity, and which will help us in achieving the birth, or the purpose of our birth. And then the fourth chapter, and the next chapter, what is discussing is talking about wonderful nature of magnetism. So as it was explained by him some time back, without understanding magnetism, we will not be able to understand anything on the consciousness, which is required for achieving the goal of birth. So Maharishi has given very simple example or for understanding this magnetism. So what he has given is, there is always actually there are arguments saying that actually taking plants or eating plants is also equivalent to eating animals. So there are some arguments which are happening. So the eating plants and eating animals are the same. So we are also destroying, or we are also taking the plants out and eating. So this is actually, at the outset, if you look at this without understanding the Vedatriyam, we may think that, okay, there is some logic in this. It looks to be valid argument. But when we go deeper and try to understand, we will feel why Maharishi has taken up this example in explaining this concept. Actually, what happens is, when any living being, when it gets tortured, because they have the feeling of pain. This is a common concept, but the imperceptible or the fact is different. Unfortunately, science, even though we have developed a lot, we are not able to come to the stage to differentiate between pain and pleasure. How pain and pleasure is, how to differentiate between pain and pleasure scientifically. But philosophically, Maharishi has given this in a very beautiful way. And if we understand this, then we will be able to understand the magnetism also. Like we discussed some time back, every living being, we have this biomagnetism, which is which is circulating through this with the center, which is genetic center. So whatever is happening, it is getting stored in the genetic center. And due to the circulation of the biomagnetic force, we call this, we get this biomagnetism, which is in a wave form. So we actually, this biomagnetism, when it is used through our senses, 5 senses, it gets pressure, light, sound, taste, smell, and in the 6th sense, it is also perceived as some mind. So this gets this Pancha Tanmatra and the 6th sense also. All our feelings are only due to this things. Okay. So whenever, wherever there is a block in this physical, in this biomagnetic circulation, there is a change there. So there is a blockage of this biomagnetism. So based on the block or on the nature of the block, the biomagnetic circulation or the magnetic circulation, there is a change happening. So this Maharishi is using us to understand or to explain what is pain and pleasure through this magnetism. So when this magnetism, when it is circulating through us, when the change happens or when it is blocked, when there is a surplus, when there is a short circuit, we feel it as a pain. And when this biomagnetic is in surplus and we are able to use this surplus, it is felt as pleasure. And then when there is when there is no difference between this biomagnetism, whatever we are able to produce and whatever we are able to use, the neutral state is called peace. And if we are able to produce more and use less, that state is called ecstasy as per him. So if you look at all these things, the basic thing is the biomagnetic circulation is happening with the genetic center in as a center. But for the plants, what is the genetic center is nothing but the seeds. The seed is the genetic center, and through the seed, actually the roots are grounded on the earth. So what Maharishi is explaining is, whenever we pluck a leaf or a flower or anything from the plants, this goes through the earth. Actually, like the current is getting earth, this also is getting earth. Because of this earthing, plants do not feel this plucking out as a pain. Unlike the living beings, where you trouble them, kill them, it is actually felt as a pain. This is not felt as a pain, and there is no sin if this is happening. Okay. So with this simple concept, Maharishi has explained about magnetism. So because of the roots, plants do not have this, they don't feel the pain. And whatever, when we do this, it goes to the ground, earth. The earth being inanimate or the non-living thing, there is no pain. So probably in future, science or scientists may be able to explain this. So till then, only philosophy can be explained or used to explain this. So with this, I would like to conclude this, and the rest of the chapters we will see in the remaining classes. Thank you for the opportunity. Be blessed by the divine. Be blessed.